Guys, how's it? Welcome back to the channel. It's Carl here from North Coast Constrictors, and today I want to do a shout out for a special dude. He's a feather snake breeder here in South Africa. His name is Doug, and he's from Snakes Alive SA. Now Doug, unfortunately, a couple of months ago, had an unfortunate accident where he was burnt severely on his lower legs by his ankles, both feet. He was working with some machinery, and he had scalding steam or water that burnt his legs so badly that he had to have surgery on his legs, skin grafts, etc. He was in hospital for a while. He's back, he's out of hospital now, and he's at home. Unfortunately, the medical aid only covers a portion of this, and he's got to cover the rest of the bills. So what he did is he did some advertising to sell some snakes, but unfortunately Doug doesn't have a morph market page, but he's on a lot of the social media groups, and he's also got a Facebook page, and he's got an Instagram. Now I didn't really know Doug until this. I bought a snake from him recently, which is a snake that I'm going to feature on this YouTube video, especially to give a shout out to Doug for a couple of reasons. One, the particular snake that I bought from him is very, very dear to my heart. It was an emotional purchase, this particular snake, and I'll tell you why shortly. The other is to give Doug a shout out because he's not that active on social media, which he needs to be. Doug, this is your sign. If you're looking for a sign to get more active on social media, this is it. So that he can sell some more snakes and help him with his medical costs. Now Doug is not asking for charity. He didn't even ask me to do this video. I just wanted to do this video to reach out to other guys so that he can sell some more snakes, and it will help him with his medical costs that his medical aid is not covering. So he's not asking for any handouts or anything like that, but he's selling some good snakes. Now what Doug did is he did something which I'd never seen before. You get raffles and you get auctions and people outbid each other, and he went and he put on on one of the group chats. He says, guys, I'm doing something on my Facebook page. I'm posting a whole bunch of pictures of snakes. I'm not putting a price tag on them. There's no reserve price on these snakes. Just make an offer, and if you're lucky, you're lucky. If you're not, you're not. If I accept your offer, if I like your offer, I'll contact you and let you know if you've got the snake or not. But don't insult me and offer me something ridiculous. I mean, he made that much clear. He's a respectable breeder, and if you are a respectable breeder and snake hobbyist, you don't take advantage of a situation like that. Obviously, you can already get the snake for a good price, but he was open and upfront. He would just not even contact you if you put in some stupid offer. So I knew I wasn't going to buy any more snakes. I'm kind of tapped out financially at the moment. I'm waiting for some more money to come in, but I've spent a lot of money in the last 18 months on my snake breeding collection, and I said, I'm not buying any more snakes. I'm in the middle of my second breeding season, but a snake that he posted for sale came up. Now it is an emotional purchase for me because in my very first breeding season last year, a snake for me that I have always loved, and apart from the pod, I love my pods, desert ghost, clowns, lavender albino, exantic, all of that, okay, but blue-eyed leucistic is, for me, when I was first getting into ball pythons, I just thought a blue-eyed leucistic was one of the most beautiful snakes I'd ever seen. A pure white snake with blue eyes. I was absolutely obsessed with it, and I wanted to produce a blue-eyed leucistic. And last year when I bought, or the year before last, when I bought, it was last year, the beginning of last year, when I bought my first breeding snakes. I bought some adult proven breeders and some sub-adults and some yearlings. Two of the adults that I bought, a male and a female, the pairing produced one of the possible offspring was a blue-eyed leucistic amongst others, okay. The female, she was a fire fire lesser pastel, and the male was a spot nose pinstripe lesser. So there was a percentage or a chance that I could get blue-eyed leucistics. Now, she wasn't a relatively big female. She was probably around the 1500 gram, 1550 mark. And she gave me 4 eggs, 3 of which were viable and 1 was a slug. And that was the very, very first clutch of eggs that I, as a snake breeder, had produced. Okay, I hadn't hatched them yet, but it was my first year, it was my first season, and that was the very first snake that gave me eggs. And unfortunately, out of the 4 eggs, only 3 were viable, 1 was a slug, and it had to go. The other 3 went full term, but at the night 59, day 59, I still hadn't had a pip from any of those eggs. Now, I know there's a thing about cutting and not cutting or whatever, but I decided on day 59, night 59, I'm going to cut. So I cut the very first egg that I cut. Out of 3, I only got 3 eggs, and to my absolute delight, it was a blue-eyed leucistic. And I was absolutely over the moon because that's what I was hoping for. And I remember I had my family visiting from overseas. It was the 29th of December. And my mom was visiting from the UK, my sister was visiting from the UK, we were all sitting around and I was doing a YouTube video. I didn't actually post the YouTube video, but anyway. But yes, the first snake that I cut, the first egg that I cut was a visual blue-eyed leucistic, and I was over the moon. The second egg was a kingpin and the third egg was a lesser. And I left them in the egg, just cut a slither enough for them so they could stick their noses out and breathe. It was day 59, so perfectly safe. The snakes were breathing and full term. And I put them back into the egg box, and I put the egg box back into the incubator. And the next morning I came into the snake room and I opened up the incubator, and I was horrified to see that my blue-eyed leucistic had crawled 3/4 of the way out of the egg, and she was dead. It was an umbilical cord issue. The umbilical cord was still stuck to her, and the umbilical cord was still stuck to a part of the placenta, and she had not been able to break away from the umbilical cord, and the umbilical cord had trapped her. It had caught as she was coming out the shell, had trapped her coming out. So she wasn't strong enough to break the umbilical cord, and I think she just died out of struggling to try and get out the egg. When I cut the egg open fully and I saw that she was still attached to the umbilical cord, she was fully formed, she was healthy, there was the placenta was empty, there was nothing left, there was, I took lots of pictures, sent it to my friends that were breeders and said, did I do anything wrong? Because that's the very first thing that you think as a breeder, especially if it's your very first clutch. All came back and said, nothing you could have done, it's just one of those things that happens, okay? You can't help yourself but blame yourself. So for me, it was very, very emotional because it was, I know it sounds weird, me saying it's emotional, okay, but it is. It was my very first clutch of eggs, the very first egg that came out. It was a blue-eyed leucistic. I mean, it was ticking all the boxes. I was over the moon. I promise you, I could hardly sleep that night, and then only to find that she had died, the next morning. And the other 2 snakes, I'm happy to say, have survived. They're still in my connection. I made a decision when those eggs were laid that my first clutch of eggs I would never sell. No matter what snakes came out of there, those snakes would remain in my collection. It would just be like some kind of whatever for me, kind of call it a superstition, keep my first clutch of eggs back, and whatever hatches, whatever comes out, those snakes will forever stay in my collection. I'll never get rid of them. Anyway, so I had no intention of ever selling those 3 snakes, but I was over the moon when I had a blue-eyed leucistic, and then obviously the next morning I saw she had passed away. I was very, very upset about it, and I was in a terrible mood for about 2 weeks. And I was like, yeah, anyway, most of you, if you guys breed snakes and you know this, I mean, if it was your first time, you'll understand. If you've been doing it for 5 or 10 years and you have a dead hatchling, I know that it's not lacquer, but if it's your first one, I don't think you're ever going to forget that first one. And for me, I'd always wanted to have a blue-eyed leucistic, and it was the very first one, the very first egg that I ever cut and ever produced and ever came out of my collection was a blue-eyed leucistic. So it was that much more special for me. But then she died the very next day. Anyway, I never bought a blue-eyed leucistic. I went and spent still hundreds of thousands of rands on more snakes, and I bought a lot of snakes to produce blue-eyed leucistics. I bought Mojave and Lesser to produce blue-eyed leucistics, to Mojave to pair to Mojave, Mojave to pair to Lesser, to get blue-eyed leucistics to produce my own. I've got quite a few of them now. I'm breeding some this year, and the object was to, and also to breed that female again and to produce more blue-eyed leucistics, but I also wanted to increase my odds. So with her having 3 genes and the male having 3 genes, I went the Mojave route. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit off track here. But I didn't buy another blue-eyed leucistic. I looked at them and I was like, I'm funny like that. Like, I was like, I lost my blue-eyed leucistic. It's an emotional loss. Yes, it's just a snake. Yes, it's just a hatchling, but not for me. I took it quite hard, and I didn't even want to buy one. It just sounds weird, but that's the kind of person that I am. But then Doug popped up, and one of the snakes that he listed and he put on his Facebook page, where it was, make me an offer, and if you hear from me, it means you've got the snake. If you don't hear from me, and you haven't got the snake. And he said, I'm not putting a price on them. You just make an offer, but don't be rude and don't be disrespectful. Don't come with some lowball bullshit offer, because then you just won't even hear from me. And one of the snakes was a female blue-eyed leucistic, and the one that I produced actually was a female and had died. And I looked at this snake and I thought to myself, oh, I want this snake. I've got to have it. But I said I wasn't buying any more snakes. But I thought I must just make an offer. But I don't want to offer low. I don't want to lowball anybody. I hate it when people lowball me. I advertise something on Morph Market. I advertise something on a group chat, and I get a private message to say, will you accept X amount? And it takes a lot of self-control to politely say no. Politely. But I looked at this snake and I thought, I want this blue-eyed leucistic. So today's video, I bought that snake. I made Doug an offer, and I was the very first person to make an offer on the blue-eyed leucistic female. I didn't make an offer on any of the other snakes because I didn't even want to buy any more snakes. But I thought to myself, I have to have that girl. So I made a respectable offer, you know, thinking that I was going to get outbid by somebody else and he was going to choose somebody else to buy the snake. The surprising thing is that I made the offer, and 5 minutes later, Doug messaged me and he said, the snake is yours. He didn't even wait for a second offer. He didn't wait for a third offer. And I offered this snake, and Doug knows this. Doug knows I'm making this video. I told Doug, I said, I'm going to make this video because I want to get his name out there. I want to help him with his medical bills. I want to help him sell snakes. So I told him why I'm going to make the video. Now, I got that snake for below market value, straight out. So I owe it to Doug to show this beautiful snake that I got from him, Snakes Alive SA. And because he doesn't have a Morph Market page, I'm going to put a link up here. This is his Facebook page, okay? And then down below here, this is his Instagram. So go give him a follow and go check out his Facebook and get hold of him that way. He's going to have to set up a Morph Market account. We had a chat about this earlier. And guys, support him, because all the snakes that he's selling now, the ones that he is selling, he's selling to cover the costs of his medical treatment that his medical aid is not covering. So without further ado, let me show you this amazing female juvenile blue-eyed leucistic that I got from Doug. Okay. Now she is looking super spectacular today because she shed last night. Okay. And this is my beautiful female Belle. She is she was an offspring, and the pairing was a Mojave to Lesser. I'm not sure which was a sire and which was the dame, but one of the parents was a Mojave and one was a Lesser, so that's a great combination. Mojave to Mojave can put a bit of a grey stamp on the head, you know. Mojave to Lesser, if you produce both an all white snake with blue eyes. And she shed out last night and she is looking spectacular. And this snake, this little girl here, I got her for less than what I was surprised, you know. But that is why I want to give Doug a shout out, because he's such a genuine oak. He's not a greedy guy. He's not looking for handouts. He's not looking for charity. All he wants to do is sell some snakes, and he's selling good snakes, and he's selling them at good prices, and he's putting that money towards his medical bills that his medical aid is not covering. So guys, this video is to help Doug, a fellow South African breeder. I want you to find it in your hearts to help him as well. And if there's anything that you think that would benefit your collection, make contact with him on those links that I've already posted. I'll do them again. This is on his Instagram here, and that is his Facebook. Private, send him a message on Facebook Messenger, or just, you know, comment on one of his photographs, or DM him on Instagram. And let's help the guy sell some snakes. Let's give something back. Let's help a fellow breeder out. And this is what you won't be able to get this one because I've already got it. And I could not be happier. It was an emotional purchase for me. And I couldn't be happier. And I sent Doug pictures this morning of her after she shed out. I know he's got a bit of seller's remorse right now. Sorry, Doug. But this girl, I can assure you, will be very well taken care of. So guys, that's it from me, Cole at North Coast Constrictors, and a shout out to Doug from Snakes Alive SA. Go give the man a follow, show some support, guys. Ubuntu here in South Africa, we stick together, and this is a fellow breeder that needs some help. So from Cole at North Coast Constrictors, Doug, speedy recovery, my friend. Take it easy. The rest of you guys, go give Doug a follow and see if you can lend your support there. Over and out from us. Cheers.